Hello everybody and welcome back to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing, and for the first time this season, welcome to the PASR MX-5 Cup. You join myself, Jack Werrell, in the commentary box once again, following on from what was a sterling season with the Junior Saloon Car Championship Official E-Series. Once again, we have Tom O'Farrell, our broadcast director at 2F Media Productions, and the series organiser Mick Sutton behind everything at PASR. And what a way to sort of follow up one brilliant season with what is already shaping up to be another. You join us here at Donington Park, the national layout for the first round of the MX-5 Cup. In a week's time, we go north of the border to Knock Hill before we go right the way down back below the border into Croft, and then even further down the country on the 29th of February, round 4 at Castle Combe. A very quick circuit, definitely one to watch. And then on the 7th of March, we head to Alton Park on the island layout. Again, quite a tricky technical circuit. It's not the widest circuit either, with lots of elevation change. That is one to watch. And then the series all comes to an end once again at Brands Hatch, the GP layout this time on the 14th of March. So it is spread over 6 rounds. There will be 12 races, including in all of that, naturally, a point. So if you get a win, I believe you get 30 points, 29, 28, and so on and so forth until we get right the way down to 0. You do get what is classed as, I think it's normally referred to as a drop round, but we're going to do drop races. So the lowest point scoring races of your entire season. So say if you retire from race 1 here this evening and then finish at every single round thereafter, you will pretty much guaranteed to drop race 1 from tonight. But obviously if you score points or win in race 2, you do get to keep those points. You don't drop the round, you drop the race, and you do get 2 of those exempt from that. Pole position points, fastest lap points, you do get to keep those. And you cannot drop the very final round or either of the races at Brands Hatch. That just keeps the championship that much closer. We've got some new names coming in on the order as well. Thomas Potter, Kieran Roberts, as well as Stanley Donaldson as well. So we've got some good names coming into the order. We've got some returning names and some fairly similar names as well. But all of those races, all of those points all go one way towards some championship prizes. If you win the championship, you get £60 in cash. If you finish second, you get 40. If you finish third, you get £20 cash. But if you have maybe a one-off podium, or you can get up there quite consistently, or if you make the most of a reverse grid race, we'll come back to that in a minute, you can get yourself some race prizes as well. Anybody that finishes on the podium at any of the races this season gets £5 in cash as well. So even though you might not be up there in the championship, if you're up there in the race, you're still potentially eligible for some quite handy prizes, and they can add up over a season. So the layout of these are currently out for their 15-minute qualifying session. It's open qualifying, so if you can make the most of a bit of draft assistance, aerodynamic assistance, bits like that, you can potentially find yourself towards the top of the order, and that will set the grid for race number 1. A 20-minute race is race number 1, followed by a 20-minute race 2, but with a full reverse grid. If you do take the checkered flag, what you can do is find yourself on pole position. That is the idea, but you do need to finish the race on the road to be eligible for that reverse grid. No safety cars, in the hopes of keeping racing nice and close. Potentially, if you are involved in an accident, you might not have as much time to claw back any lost time throughout the race. But what it does mean is drivers may be a little bit more careful and a little bit more tentative once they're into their battles, and obviously that is in the hopes of producing some very quick, very clean and very close racing. With qualifying underway, fastest in practice is fastest in qualifying at the moment. James Pepper on provisional pole position with a 1 minute 16.787 last time. Currently looking at Carl Felbus hard on the brakes into the chicane as he bounces over the curbs through the S's and then towards the start finish line once again. I don't believe we'll see an improvement from him this time. Over the line he goes and remains in second place. A big improvement. Across the line goes Stanley Donaldson. He works his way up into provisional P6 with a 1 minute 17.532 on potential improvements this lap. Nathan Snaith down in 11th place. He could improve on this lap. He set a personal best sector 1 by quite some margin, 3/4 of a second quicker than his overall best in sector 1, however half a second down. So he stands around about 2/10 up on his fastest time so far. That could be a bit of draft assistance that he missed out on in the middle sector. Through the S's he goes. Towards the line will be seen improvement. At the moment it is a 1 minute 18.616 to beat. Crosses the line and does improve with a 1 minute 18.387, but not a positional improvement. He needs to find probably around about the same margin again, 0.4 of a second. Luke Sintler on a very quick lap as well through the chicane. He goes, currently sat in provisional P4, personal best sector 1, personal best sector 2. He's only a tenth away from getting even further up the grid. Over the line he goes in fourth and goes on to provisional pole position with a 1 minute 16.785. Brilliant lap from Luke Sintler. That puts him 0.02 to the good ahead of Jordan Pepper. Jordan hasn't improved in the first sector of this lap. Kyle Felbus has dived into the pit lane. We've still got sort of 6 3/4 minutes of the session to go. So there's still plenty of time for drivers to improve. Jordan Taylor over the line doesn't improve in provisional P5. There is Olivia Kronoska. She set a personal best sector 1. Again, that's by around about 6.5 of a second. So we are seeing some late on improvements. Whether that's the fuel coming out of the car, I don't know. But Harley Connolly with a big improvement as well. 1 minute 17.367 as he crossed the line. That's good enough for the third row of the grid. Provisional P6 for him. Olivia Kronoska quicker still through sector 2. So over a second up at the moment. 4.1 seconds back from the pole time. Olivia Kronoska comes towards the line. Will we see a carve away up through the order? Unfortunately not this time. However, a really, really good improvement. That should keep the motivation high for the rest of qualifying. A 1 minute 19.265 posted. She needs to find around about 4.5 of a second to pick up another place. Here is Nathan Bell, father of Leo Bell. He has improved very substantially on this lap, 6.5 seconds back, and does manage to just nip into the top 15 with a 1 minute 18.920. If he can find another couple of tenths, he can potentially find himself up towards the top 12 as well. So Nathan Bell, if he can turn one good lap into another, we may see him carve his way ever further up the order. 5.5 minutes of qualifying remaining. Here is Leo Bell in the sister car. He will work his way now through Hollywood and down in towards the Craner curves. Quite a tricky braking point into the old hairpin, because you can do sort of a dab on the brakes, flick the car in and make sure that the rear end stays in check, or you can almost throw it in and scrub any sort of additional speed off with the rear axle. Up the hill he goes through Schwantz curve and then in towards McLean's. Not the fastest sector 1 that time for Leo Bell. Got to be careful not to fall off the inside curb at McLean's as well. There's quite a nasty sort of ditch that if you go into, you can scrape the bottom of the car and lose a lot of speed and a lot of grip as well. So it might not just be a poor sort of middle section of the corner, but the exit of the corner is massively affected as well. So down the Dunlop straight he will go, and he's lost more time. However, he is slowly catching the car up the road, which I believe, let's have a quick look, that could be Nathan Williams that he's slowly starting to catch. So we may see improvements. No, we don't. Into the pit lane goes Leo Bell, but a big improvement from Nathan Williams, completely unassisted as well, with a 1 minute 16.741. That is provisional pole position by 44 thousandths of a second ahead of Luke Sintler. Luke Sintler, he's not on a quick lap. He's crossed the line now and he's just up the road. You can see he's potentially bottled up behind Nathan Bell on this lap. 4 minutes of the session remaining, but a really late on improvement from Nathan Williams, and good enough for provisional pole. You can see just how close the margins are. The top 4 separated by 79 thousandths of a second. So within 1/10 of a second, we have our top 4. Within 3/10, we have our top 5. And our top 9 separated by less than 0.8 of a second. It was a good sector 1 from Nathan Williams, but sector 2 is where he let it all go. Through McLean's corner, just managed to over-rotate the car, I think, on the way in, and by way of correcting that slide, it meant that he washed wide over the curb. Very easy mistake to make, and he's got enough time in the bag to maybe pick up another couple of laps. Dalton Haywood towards the line. Don't think he improved. Let's have a quick look. Dalton Haywood last time through, no, he posted a 1 minute 17.535, his fastest in the session, a 1:17.375. But he's not far away from picking up a place at all. If he can find only 1/100th of a second, he will find himself on the third row of the grid. Harley Connolly not too far up the road at all. Then he can't afford to let off because Leo Bell isn't too far away. He's within 1/10 of a second as well. It was a good sector 1, 2/10 up, which is what he needs to find. Is that traffic up the road? Let's have a quick look. That looks like Thomas Potter, who is currently down provisional P13. So maybe more time to find. I think he's come out the pit lane, but a mistake made on the lap prior by our provisional pole sitter, and almost an identical mistake, just a little more excessive from Dalton Haywood through McLean's corner. Dipped a wheel on to the gravel, and more importantly, the loaded rear wheel. Of course, these cars being front-engined, rear-wheel drive, and I think that's Nathan Williams making exactly the same mistake he made on the lap prior as well. Yes, it was, and he was up in Sector 1. He's being the thorn in his own side at this point, just dipping the wheels over the grass on the exit as well. So maybe he just needs a quick reset. Yes, and there you go. You can see he's just going to, I think, burst some temperature into the tyres, build himself a nice gap to drive into, and then re-attack the Donington Park National Circuit. Time for 2 more laps for Nathan Williams. He comes through the final corner now to go on to what will be his penultimate timed lap of this session. Are we seeing any improvements? Nothing within the top 6 at the moment. Dalton Haywood, we did see him improve in Sector 1, but it wasn't enough. Unfortunately, with that mistake in Sector 2, you can see just how wide Nathan Williams goes in towards Turn 1 using the pit entry. You're more than entitled to do so. He just opens up the entry to Redgate, and if you can almost buy yourself a bit more time, you can potentially carry a few more mile an hour through there, which massively helps. Leo Bell improves that time through with a 1 minute 17.347. So he finds himself up in provisional P6 at the moment, up onto the 3rd row of the grid. That demotes Harley Connolly to 7th, Dalton Haywood to 8th. Newcomer to the championship, Kieran Roberts. He is doing very well in 9th place as well. We do have some returning drivers, James Pepper, who is currently sat provisional P3, and Dalton Haywood, who we've been keeping an eye on, sat in provisional P8. Both of those two did take part in the Ginetta Junior Official E-Series by Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing a little while ago, so they have got plenty of experience being carried into this championship. Nathan Williams not as quick on this lap as we've seen him go before. On the brakes, is it going to be all or nothing? No, focus is on the entry in. Very, very quick through the chicane, using the curb to rotate the car. And onto what will be his final time lap of the session. We could see a very late improvement from Nathan Williams, further cementing that provisional pole position. That is how quick he was through the chicane. He was up only half a tenth, but half a tenth at the moment would buy you pole position if you were Luke Sintler and James Pepper. That shows how close the front 3 are. So through Hollywood he will go. Brilliant camera angle, being able to see almost from driver's eye how to attack the Donington Park National Circuit. On the brakes, potentially down a gear, just flick it in and use as much of the curb as you can get away with. Up the hill we go. Very quick Sector 1 from Nathan Williams. He's gone quicker still. 18 thousandths up from his fastest time. Kyle Felvers has taken the checkered flag. No improvement. So too has Leo Bell. Dalton Haywood, Nathan Snaith have all taken the checkered flag and haven't improved this time through. So Nathan Williams through Coppice Corner. He manages to nail McLean's this time. You could see the car flick in and the rear end struggling for the grip. Just about managed to get the car navigated through that section of the circuit. Down the Dunlop straight we will go. No improvement, 4 tenths down from where we've seen. It's going to have to be a very, very quick final couple of corners and lots of curb usage that might slightly compromise his exit. No, it seems like he got it squared away and decided no improvement to be had. So into the pit lane comes Nathan Williams. Luke Sintler goes in. James Pepper has taken the checkered flag and no improvements from him. Jordan Taylor, whereabouts is he? He's just coming through the final corner now. He's up in Sector 2. Will we see him get into the front 2 rows? No, not that time. It was an improvement with a 116.955, but it wasn't enough to get even higher up the order. Harry Dios, what can he do behind the wheel of the number 63 machine? Through the final corner he will go. Can he get in towards the top 10? No, he can't. He can get into the pit lane as far as he's concerned. And Nathan Bell into the pit lane as well. I don't believe we will see any further improvements. We've got a couple of cars still out on circuit, but they will be heading for the pit lane. So Nathan Williams, with that improvement, with around about 4 minutes to go, he managed to make it stick on a 1 minute 16.741. Luke Sintler, not too far away at all, only 44 thousandths of a second. 2 thousandths back from him is James Pepper. 33 thousandths back from him is Jordan Taylor. And then just over a tenth of a second, Jordan Taylor in 5th place. Kyle Felvers is sat in P4. So hopefully we can grab a word with Nathan Williams just to see how he managed to put that on pole position and find that improvement once, but then struggled to do it again. I'm sure he'll be kicking himself, but he's got everything to be proud of, managing to get pole position and the bonus points at the first race of the season. It's very easy to fall into that trap as well. Having found that improvement, desperate for more, you can't quite do exactly what you did on that lap. You just find yourself hemorrhaging time at that position. I'm just looking, Olivia Kronoska potentially ran out of fuel throughout her qualifying session. She managed to complete 8 laps compared to the sort of median of 10 and 11 laps completed, but Olivia only with the 8 and still sat stationary on the entry into McLean's. Nathan Williams into the commentary box, pole position at the first race of the season. You were sat in P4 for quite some time and then all of a sudden shot up the order. Whereabouts did you find that time?
Well, I think it's just a very tricky car to get used to. The car likes to slide around much, and then sometimes just side's going to understeer. So I think just very tricky to set a fast lap time, and I think everybody struggled with that, and I especially struggled with it until my second run out, where I was just able to pick up the pace a bit more and be a bit more consistent.
Well, it seemed like you were getting caught out a little bit going through McLean's corner. Was that pushing for time, or was that just the geometry of the car, as you mentioned, because you've come out of quite a short wheelbase, very light front-engine, front-wheel drive Citroen Saxo in the Junior Saloon Car Official E Series, and coming into the PASR MX-5 Cup, obviously it's still front-engine, but rear-wheel drive, slightly longer wheelbase, still very light as well. Is that something that requires quite a lot of adjusting?
Well, I think it's not too bad of an adjustment because obviously I've come from the Genettas, which are much more similar to this. So I think it's a bit of adjustment, but yeah, there's still adjustments to be made, which I think is why I struggled a bit through there with just a bit of the understeer due to the camber of the corner.
And of course, this is now sort of a third of the job done. You've managed to put it on pole position, pick up that bonus point, and you're starting on pole position for race number 1. But of course, it's still quite a long way away, and it might be tricky to sort of imagine where you'll be at this time. But then we've still got the full reverse grid to come for race 2, a full 20-minute race. So you've got to either carve your way up through the order if race 1 has gone well, or try and recover what's left of your night if race 1 hasn't quite gone your way. So what's the plan for tonight?
Obviously, I think you can have the plan, but obviously, it's racing, I don't think it matters much. Obviously, the goal is still to try and do as well in the first race, and then second race just avoid whatever happens and hopefully just work way up the order that way.
Great stuff. Well, best of luck, Nathan. Congratulations on the first pole position of the season, and hopefully we get to chat to you a couple more times throughout tonight.
Thank you.
Cheers, Nathan. So great to grab a quick word there with our pole sitter, the first one of the season. And the cars will very shortly be working their way on to the grid. But as mentioned, some of these drivers have taken part in previous Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing Championships. If you would like to take part, by all means, please do get in touch, whether that be via Facebook, Instagram, joining the Discord, going onto the website as well, if you do like the look of getting on the grid with a number of these drivers and potentially more as the season wears on. Please do not hesitate to get in touch. I'm sure we'll be able to get you on the grid, and we'll be delighted to have more of you racing. And Nathan Williams, having come out of one discipline almost into another, he's adapted very well. Like you say, he's come from the sort of the Ginetta background, so it's not too much of a switch in terms of driving style, but some drivers maybe, if you keep an eye on them, they will get quicker throughout the season as they adapt further and further for their benefit, more to the car as well. But looking at the grid, it looks like everybody is already there. You can see Nathan Williams has already lined up. I'm trying to pick out who that is on, I think that's a couple of rows back. It's either Harley Connolly or Jordan Taylor with their lights ablaze already. A little bit of mind games being played on the grid. It's nice to see that some of these guys do take it very seriously indeed. It is Jordan Taylor with the headlights on. So on pole position, it is Nathan Williams. Luke Sintler lines up alongside. Row 2 of the grid is made up of James Pepper and Kyle Felvers. Jordan Taylor lines up in 5th with Leo Bell for company in P6. P7 is Harley Connolly. Dalton Haywood lines up in 8th. And then on the 5th row of the grid, we've got newcomer to PASR Kieran Roberts and Stanley Donaldson alongside Harry Dios and Nathan Snaith line up 11th and 12th. Then it's Thomas Potter and Nathan Bell 13th and 14th. 15th is Jake Wardle, and Olivia Kronoska rounds out your 16-strong car grid as we are edging ever closer to getting this championship fully underway with a 20-minute race very shortly taking place. Nathan Williams, what can he do about converting pole position into a race win at the very start of the season? So the lights have come up. We wait for them to illuminate red, and as soon as they go out, we'll be able to get this championship underway. So 6 red lights on. And as they go out now, who gets the best of the starts? The mid-pack seems to be very congested indeed. Maybe some slower starters and some slightly faster starters, causing a little bit of chaos. Flashing of the lights, Harry Dios with the lights ablaze already. In towards turn 1 goes Nathan Williams. Leo Bell, 3 wide on the very, very outside. Has to concede the inside a little bit there. Jordan Taylor's trying to nip his way up through the inside. Harley Connolly trying to follow him through as well. Dalton Haywood going slightly wide on the exit of turn 1. That allows Harry Dios to edge his way up through the inside on the way through Hollywood. Down in towards the old hairpin for the first time. Luke Sintler, very, very aggressive. You could see the nose of the car dive into the ground as he jumped on the brakes, 3 wide back up the hill. Again, Jordan Taylor in the middle, left without nowhere to go. I think that was Leo Bell on the inside, Harley Connolly on the outside. The pair of those two go tumbling down the order, not exactly the way they would like to start their championship. Harley Connolly narrowly avoided by Olivia Kronowska as well. Back up at the front, we do have Nathan Williams slowly starting to edge a bit of a gap between himself and Luke Sintler. Jordan Pepper isn't too far away at all from Luke Sintler in third. That could get ever closer as the race wears on. Kieran Roberts in the absolute thick of it at the very first round of this season. There is James Pepper. So he has a little look to the inside, just filling the mirrors, jumps on the brakes, decides to maybe just be patient, and whether that was a slight network issue or something, but Jordan Pepper seemed to really catch Luke Sintler halfway through the corner and then made a slight bit of contact, but what that did do is fire Luke Sintler off the corner, and James Pepper, had very little to do in the way of a response. There is Thomas Potter. He goes very wide in towards turn 1. Will that allow Nathan Bell up the inside? Yes, it will. So Nathan Bell up into 11th place. Jake Wardle trying to follow him through the same gap, doesn't quite work. Olivia Kronowski getting caught out on the exit of Redgate and just runs slightly wide as well. Through Hollywood, down the Craner curves goes Dalton Haywood. He's hot on the heels of Kieran Roberts. A half look to the inside, just filling the mirrors, but a slightly faster line being taken by Kieran Roberts. The pair of them touch the grass. Dalton Haywood doesn't get away with it and into the tyre wall, unfortunately. So that means a lot of positions lost for him. Who else was that running off the road? That could have been Jake Wardle that ran very wide off the exit of the old hairpin. Here is the move for third place. James Pepper up the inside at Coppice, grabs the apex, and just about Luke Sintler manages to keep it on the road. He was very, very close to the grass. But James Pepper for Cool Camel Racing picks up second place. Jake Wardle, he's caught out again, potentially on the grass, finds himself almost stationary in the middle of the road, very narrowly avoided by Harley Connolly. Through the S's we go, and Kyle Felbus with a much quicker run than Luke Sintler this time. Will Luke Sintler lose 2 places in the space of one sector? So over the start-finish line, absolutely together. Fastest lap of the race set last time through by Nathan Williams, a 1 minute 17.008. They're still side by side, and they can't quite decide what position they want to be in at the moment. Kyle Felbus did everything he could to jump on the brakes late and throw the car around the outside, trying to find the grip. Doesn't quite find it this time by, but the HFT car again looking to the outside, maybe the inside in towards the old hairpin. Can he be brave enough on the brakes? No, not this time. I think it's because the minimum speed is so high for these MX-5s through the old hairpin. It's just not a real overtaking opportunity, or if it is, you need to be side by side already, heading in towards the braking zone. And again, a slight network issue again for Luke Sintler. That just meant that Kyle Felbus couldn't respond. The attempted response was there. You could see the nose dive and him try to avoid Luke Sintler. It didn't work. Nathan Bell makes a mistake heading through Schwann's curve, over-rotates the car and finds himself almost in the gravel. So too does Thomas Potter. It's almost like there's oil down. So we had 3 cars off in the same gravel trap, all in the space of 1 lap. But Luke Sintler has a lot of driving to do. Jordan Taylor and Nathan Bell are the cars he's come out in between. Nathan Williams at the head of affairs has pulled around about 0.8 of a second over James Pepper. Kyle Felbus is now in third, Leo Bell fourth, and then it is Stanley Donaldson, Kieran Roberts, Harry Dios, Jordan Taylor, and then back to Luke Sintler. Even further back here is Nathan Snaith. He's got the best seats in the house. There's a big dive up the inside from Harley Connolly. He's trying to recover from that incident earlier on in the race. So up into 11th place for Harley Connolly. He manages to not only get past Olivia Kronowska, but also Nathan Snaith as well. Dalton Haywood, Jake Wardle and Thomas Potter, the 3 drivers that got caught out just a lap ago. Olivia Kronowska and Nathan Snaith still fighting away, heading in towards Redgate, absolutely together. What this is allowing is Harley Connolly just to edge that gap a little bit more. We are a quarter of the way through the race, so still 15 minutes to go, pardon me. Nathan Snaith again desperately trying to find a way through, doesn't quite work. It was a late decision which compromises his exit heading through the old hairpin. What has happened to James Pepper? All of a sudden he is sideways the wrong way and then the right way once again, coming out of McLean's corner. So clearly some sort of mistake from second on the road. So Kyle Felbus whilst he's 3 seconds back from Nathan Williams, has inherited second place. Leo Bell in third. Then we get back to Stanley Donaldson and Kieran Roberts, absolutely side by side into the chicane. Kieran decides discretion is the better part of valour that time through. Doesn't quite work for him. But Stanley Donaldson not too far away at all, still within touching distance. This is the battle for the final couple of positions in the top 5. In desperation to get over almost onto pit exit, he just nibbled the grass a little bit as well. Kieran Roberts very sideways on the exit of Red Gate, managing that oversteer that we heard about from Nathan Williams in between the race and up of the race, which currently resides with Nathan Williams, a 1 minute 16.915, the only driver to break into the 1 minute 16 barrier in this race. He is stationary on the track map on the right-hand side. Stanley Donaldson just washes very slightly wide of the mark on the exit of McLean's corner. That allows Kieran Roberts to just have a look up the inside. Contact made between the pair of them, just a glancing blow. So Kieran Roberts up into 4th place, Stanley Donaldson down into 5th. I fear this battle will be raging on for the rest of the race. Harry Dios with his lights ablaze, desperately trying to make up some places. Nathan Bell, unfortunately, again, another victim of McLean's corner, finds himself pointing backwards and down in 15th place. That allows Jake Wardle and Olivia Kronowska's battle to pick up a place respectively. Harry Dios, he's almost bridging the gap from the edge of the top 5 to everybody else thereafter. If he can focus forward, he might just be able to edge away at that time. Obviously, he will want to run away from Jordan Taylor and Luke Sintler. James Pepper, he's got a very big comeback drive on his hands, being down in 9th place. Not the fastest lap really from him last time through, 1 minute 18.0. Whether that was traffic affected, I don't know. Luke Sintler desperately again trying to make up ever more places, having lost out from 2nd place with some unfortunate contacts with Kyle Felbus. The next target for him is Jordan Taylor, and trying to find a way by. The pair of them again with their lights on, getting in each other's heads through Schwant's curve before they dive on the brakes in towards McLean's, which has claimed many a victim so far in this race. It's still got 12.5 minutes to do so ever more. Up towards Coppy's corner, riding on board with Luke Sintler. Grass if you're brave enough. James Pepper, ever more-ish. Into 13th, 14th place. Luke Sintler late on the brakes, dives up the inside of Jordan Taylor, but gets a poor run on the exit of the S's. Over the start-finish line, they will go absolutely together. So Luke Sintler and Jordan Taylor absolutely door-to-door as we arrive at Redgate once again. Jordan Taylor on the outside, Luke Sintler on the inside. The nose of the car dives towards the ground. Will Jordan Taylor look for the cutback? No, he's brave enough to try and hold it all the way around the outside. It will remain the outside down. Get back in the head of Luke Sintler, maybe forcing that mistake down in towards the old hairpin once again. But Luke Sintler, position made and up into 7th place. Only 1 point, not even 1 point. 0.2 back from Luke Sintler, but then it's 1.5 seconds up to Luke Sintler. The lead margin up to 3.8 seconds now. Nathan Williams going quicker ever more. And very sideways is James Pepper. One mistake leads to more, and on the exit of the old hairpin, I think that may have been an overtake around the outside of Olivia Kronowska, funnily enough. Up into 13th place is James Pepper, but what a rotten way to start your championship aspirations. Not quite where I think he would like to be at this point, having started in what I believe was 3rd place and got a lightning start. Managed to pick up 2nd on the road, but unfortunately with some sort of mistake, it meant that he dropped down the order, and then a couple more added up, and he's right the way down into 13th place. So up the order, the closest cars that we have got, I think that's Jordan Taylor and Luke Sintler. Yes, they have separated a little bit, but they're only, what, 6/10 apart. But Luke Sintler has massively closed up on Harry Dios. I think Harry might have had some sort of mistake because he was within the 2-second margin of the cars up the road. He's now just about above 3 seconds away. So, yeah, a very slow lap last time through from Harry Dios at 1 minute 18.2 compared to his fastest being a 1:17.9. It's fairly consistent, but still slower than what we know he can do compared to Luke Sintler's previous lap time of a 1:17.4. So 0.8 quicker last time through from Luke Sintler. Back up to the front, we've got Stanley Donaldson still hot on the heels of Kieran Roberts. Kieran having got that position a few laps ago. He is just, I think, running around trying to build any margin he can between himself and Stanley Donaldson. A bit of traffic maybe up the road. We'll figure out which of the Bells that is. Is that Nathan Bell? No, that is Leo Bell. So Leo Bell is slowly falling into the clutches of Kieran Roberts, and Kieran Roberts, I fished. Stanley Donaldson not far away at all, riding on board with Luke Sintler over the line down in towards turn one. We said he was catching Harry Dios. Is he ever? Down in towards turn one. We may see a change of position here for sixth place. Yes, we do. Luke Sintler later on the brakes and picks up the position on the way in, but Harry Dios fights back, manages to get the car back up the inside. So the cutback worked initially from Harry Dios. It will be the outside down the Craner curves in towards the old hairpin. It will convert to the inside, which is usually the preferred line, but it can compromise your exit. Harry Dios very aggressive on the way in. A bit of oversteer that scrubbed any speed that he had, meaning he's got to settle for 7th or maybe 8th, because Jordan Taylor now makes the most of that small mistake. He's looking all the way around the outside, and position made for Jordan Taylor as well. So Harry Dios 2 places lost in the first sector alone. Stanley Donaldson, again, just doing what he can to keep in touch with Kieran Roberts, doing a brilliant job so far. Stanley Donaldson new to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. Kieran Roberts new to PASR as well. So the two newbies of the three fighting tooth and nail for this position. Back up to this battle, we've got Jordan Taylor, again, hot on the heels of Luke Sintler. They went past Harry Dios almost as a pair, which I think has gone maybe against Luke Sintler's plan. He wanted to work his way through, get that crucial car between himself and Jordan Taylor. It didn't work, and they're still absolutely together as they cross the line. Fastest lap of the race still being held by Nathan Elvis. Has got into the 1:16s in this race. It wasn't the lap prior, maybe the lap before that, with a 1:16.871, and he's gone quicker still in sector 1. So Kyle Felbus in the latter stages of this race is getting quicker. It's going to take a bit of a miracle or some sort of mistake from Nathan Williams, I fear, for that 3.7 second lead to dissipate. However, a good confidence boost for Kyle Felbus, I'm sure, because we do have that 20-minute full reverse grid race on the way. Jordan Taylor through McLean's corner he goes, and he's not quite as quick through sector 2 than Luke Sintler, but he really reels it in, whether it be through sector 3 and down the Dunlop straight with the draft assistance, or it's through sector 1 just by balancing the car even closer to the edge, down the Craner curves and in towards the old hairpin. Another flash of the lights from Jordan, desperately trying to force a mistake, take Luke's eyes off the road ahead, and maybe a missed braking point or a missed apex. It doesn't quite work that time through. Luke Sintler, an absolute rocket through the chicane. Jordan Taylor, I think, being careful of track limits. But Luke Sintler doing a sterling job in 6th place. He's pulled the gap out as wide as we've seen so far, almost half a second clear. Luke Sintler last time through, another driver into the 1:16s, a 1:16.876. Kyle Felbus went last time through faster than he's gone in the race so far, faster than anyone this race has gone so far, with a 1:16.740. I tell a lie, because James Pepper, I think we said he had some responding to do, and has he ever? A 1:16.640. So he has got the furthest into the 16s anyone has in this race. So James Pepper, keep an eye on him. He's currently sat down in 11th place. He may pick up a few more places before the end of this race. At least you'd expect him to work his way past Thomas Potter. Then, of course, it means he'll be starting slightly further up the grid than we know his main rivals are in race 2. Looking back from Leo Bell, Kieran Roberts, we said he was getting closer, and he's got very, very close indeed. This is the move for the final step on the podium. Up the inside goes Kieran Roberts. They're going to be neck and neck down the straight. Stanley Donaldson has got the best seats in the house to try and watch this unfold. They will arrive 2 by 2 into the chicane. Will they? Yes, they will, because Leo Bell is desperate to hold it around the outside. Contact between the pair of them, bouncing all over the curbs. Kieran Roberts gets compromised as well with that contact. So Stanley Donaldson may potentially be on for a podium place here, because he manages to work his way through and past Leo Bell. Can he try and convert that into 3rd? No, not this time. Kieran Roberts, pardon me. He did look over to try and take the normal line in, decided he had to try and defend. What that has done is open up the door on the outside for Leo Bell to respond. Getting closer is the battle between Luke Sintler and Jordan Taylor, which is very much there now. Luke Sintler bridging the gap between this 3-way fight. And Jordan Taylor up the inside goes Stanley Donaldson. They don't make contact. It was very close to it, but Luke Sintler gets a brilliant run on the exit of the old hairpin. He's now looking around the outside of Stanley Donaldson, so it could all change for the final step on the podium. 5 cars all fighting for the first third place of the round. Of course, they will get their hands on £5 cash, all dependent on post-race penalties for finishing on the podium. Through Coppice Corner they go. Maybe a slight tag between Luke Sintler and Stanley Donaldson. That means Luke Sintler washes wide. Jordan Taylor washes wider and nibbles the grass. That massively compromises his exit. Don't rule out Harry Dios in 8th place, because you can see him encroaching closer in the background. 4.5 minutes of the race to go. Into the chicane once again. Stanley Donaldson loses out to Luke Sintler this time. Leo Bell with a good run through the chicane. He will get closer to Kieran Roberts. Over the line they will go, and you can see he's gaining in the draft. Leo Bell jumps over to the left-hand side, squeezed for room, much later on the brakes from Leo Bell. Very, very committed on the way in towards Redgate, gets edged out towards the grass and the gravel. Leo Bell very well held, but I fear that didn't really need to happen. Kieran Roberts ran him very tight on room towards the edge of the circuit. A flash of the lights from Jordan Taylor in pure desperation to maybe cause a mistake. Luke Sintler with a tag from Stanley Donaldson. Very well held again from Luke Sintler. Stanley Donaldson, that compromised any sort of momentum he had heading in towards the old hairpin. This may see a response from Leo Bell. It may see a response from Jordan Taylor. Through McLean's and Schwantz curve we will go. And Leo Bell, he's only hemorrhaging positions here. It seemed fairly clean throughout, but we're 3 wide up towards Coppice. We saw it on the first lap. We're seeing it on the 13th. Leo Bell somehow manages to hold on to all of those places. Stanley Donaldson loses out to Jordan Taylor. Kieran Roberts still at the head of affairs in 3rd. Then we've got Luke Sintler. Then we get to this battle between Leo Bell and Jordan Taylor, which is just allowing the 2 up the road to run away. Stanley Donaldson has hemorrhaged position since everybody else has arrived on the scene. Jordan Taylor very greedy on the curbs, and the moment gets collected up, but he will lose not 1 but 2 places as well, because Harry Dios, I said keep an eye on him. He's now up into 7th place. He was exactly where he needed to be, exactly where he wanted to be, and does pick up a place. James Pepper, it's gone from bad to worse, because with the fastest lap of the race, unfortunately, a mistake coming out of Coppice Corner, heading onto the Dunlop straight. He drops further down the order, and Luke Sintler maybe with another network issue that's cost him so much in this race. They seem to appear together, did Kieran Roberts and Luke Sintler, so it looked like Luke was going for 3rd. Didn't quite work, and then down into 4th and has to remain there. He's had a mistake further up the road. Luke Sintler again, I think, just trying to get that car back onto the racing surface. It hasn't worked for him. He's gone from what could have been potentially 3rd right the way down into 8th place. And Jordan Taylor is pointing the wrong way as well. I hope Luke Sintler wasn't involved in that one, because that means his night will be going from bad to worse. Harry Dios with a bit of contact with Stanley Donaldson, but a much cleaner run through Coppice Corner from Harry Dios. However, it doesn't convert to a higher exit speed, because Stanley is really starting to pull away. Whether that was contact between Harry and Stanley which gave him that momentum onto the back straight. Nathan Williams has all but forgot about the cars behind him. 3.5 seconds more than clear than Kyle Felvers, who's running a fairly lonely race at the moment as well. Kieran Roberts still sat there in 3rd place. Then it's Leo Bell and Stanley Donaldson. That we can see he's more or less the meat in the sandwich at the moment, because he is still there or thereabouts with Harry Dios. Or with Leo Bell, pardon me, but Harry Dios is well and truly there in 6th place and will be desperate. What you can do if you were to finish 2nd and the fastest lap, you would still be in pretty much 1st place point scoring position. Jordan Taylor, that car looks very nervous indeed. Steering is still straight, so nothing really to worry about there. Jordan Pepper does get through and past this time and back in towards the top 10. James Pepper, pardon me. Please do take it as a compliment. Jordan Pepper is a Bentley factory driver, I believe. So, James, I do apologise, but it is meant as a compliment. Harry Dios still sat there in 6th place. He is there or thereabouts with Stanley Donaldson, but having made that mistake and a bit of contact a few laps ago, what that has done is put him on the back foot. He's just on the very edge of the aerodynamic assistance. Jordan Taylor being down in 11th place, of course, that will mean he's in a fairly good position for the reverse grid pole position. There is our race leader on the final lap of the race, Nathan Williams. Let's have a quick look. Has he still got the fastest lap of the race? No, he hasn't. Kyle Felvers has gone quicker only by around about half a tenth of a second. The fastest lap of the race, is it still held by James Pepper? Yes, it is. No, it isn't. Leo Bell, last time through, a 1 minute 17.359. So as the fuel has come out of the car, Leo Bell has been getting quicker and quicker and quicker, and he now takes that fastest lap point away from anybody else. Of course, Nathan Williams already has the pole position point, so he is in a fairly good place at the very end of race one. Just a couple of corners to go. The checkered flag will be being readied for him, and we will see Nathan Williams through the final corner for the final time. The checkered flag is ready, and the first race of the PASR MX-5 Cup goes the way of the pole sitter. Nathan Williams led from lights to flag, a dominant victory in race one of the season from Nathan Williams. Kyle Felvers crosses the line in second place. Kieran Roberts in towards the final corner now. He's had to fight for it, picked his way through any sort of battle that he was involved in, and on his debut with Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing, he will cross the line and round out the podium in third. Leo Bell, with the fastest lap of the race, will cross the line in fourth, followed then by Stanley Donaldson, who's been in the wars a little bit, but manages to claim the final spot in the top five, followed then by Harry Dios and Luke Sintler. Oh, what could have been, I fear. He was on for a podium, but a small mistake and maybe some network issues leaves him in seventh. Harley Connolly crosses the line in eighth. James Pepper, he has set some sterling lap times throughout, but it hasn't quite worked for him. A couple of mistakes meant that he will cross the line in ninth place. Then it is Thomas Potter on his debut will finish in the final spot in the top 10. Olivia Kronoska will cross the line in 11th, followed then by Dalton Hayward, who I think his race has been plagued by maybe some small mistakes as well. Jake Wardle will cross the line in 13th. Jordan Taylor, whether that was strategy or some sort of mechanical issue, I don't know, but he crosses the line in 14th place and secures himself a very good position for the reverse grid. Nathan Snaith crosses the line in 15th, and the final and 16th place goes to Nathan Bell, who did have a couple of incidents, unfortunately, throughout that race. We will have the opportunity to chat to some of our drivers. So first into the commentary box, Nathan Williams. What a way to kick off your PASR MX-5 Cup sort of campaign. You've managed to put it on pole position and you cross the line in first. So pole position and a win, you're only missing out on that fastest lap, but surely sort of this momentum, this confidence is on an all-time high.
Yeah, it's been a very good start. Obviously, I think he got a bit lucky with the win, to be fair, because I think James definitely had the pace to challenge, but he got unlucky with the spin. But yeah, so far I couldn't ask for any best so far.
And obviously, we had a quick chat after qualifying, and you were saying that the car can be. You've almost got to negotiate with understeer on the way in and maybe some oversteer, and it decides when it wants to do it. Was that something that was slightly different in racing conditions, or was it the same? And is it just who can manage that ends up on top?
Yeah, I think it's quite an unpredictable car, even in the race. I think obviously out front, I just tried to try and stay consistent, and even then I made a few mistakes despite even just trying to lap a tenth or two slower than I would normally.
And of course, we've still got race 2 on the way, a full reverse grid, and as everybody finished, obviously you're starting from the very tail end of the order. Obviously, it's all down to sort of practice, what you've done in official sessions, what you've done in your own time as well. What are these cars like to try and pick your way through traffic?
Well, I think with the fact they've got a bit more horsepower, it's a bit more easy to go through overtakes than in previous championships. But then it'd still be very difficult, especially with, I think, with quite a lot of people on the same pace within a lap with about a tenth or two. So at this track, I think it'll be quite difficult to try and just fully get past him. But yeah, it's going to be definitely a struggle to get to the front.
Well, we'll look forward to watching that all unfold. Of course, race 2 on the way. So best of luck. Congratulations on pole position and a race 1 win. Hopefully we get to chat to you again towards the end of the evening.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Cheers, Nathan. We also have, who else do we have in the commentary box? Let's have a quick look. So Kyle Felvis joining me once again in the commentary box. Much like last season, we're up forever finding reasons to talk to you. A similar question I posed to Nathan after qualifying. What's it like in terms of drivability, swapping from front engine front wheel drive to front engine rear wheel drive? Is it quite a hit to the system and you've got to try and almost refine that racecraft once again, or did you fall into it quite seamlessly?
I mean, it's definitely different, but my love is rear wheel drive. Like, this car perfectly suits me. But when I first started sim driving, I started with drifting, so I did a lot of competitions in that side of the driving scene on the sim, and that definitely helps driving a rear-wheel drive car on, races like this.
And Donington Park, obviously, you've been here before, plenty of experience around here, and looking at some of the lap counts in practice, a lot of drivers have put a lot of time into this. It must feel, I don't want to say boring, but it must almost be very much ingrained in your system how to drive it. But of course, being in a slightly different car, and maybe with some new drivers as well coming into the fray, is it again something that you can't really get complacent with driving around here?
Yeah, I mean, Donington's my favourite track in the UK, so I think it's just about trying to get used to the car again. Obviously, I've done championships before in this car, but I haven't driven it in a while, and I think this week I've been quite ill, so I haven't really had the time to practice or really the motivation. So, next week when I'm hopefully feeling a bit better, I'll do a bit more practice and hopefully come out on top.
Great stuff. We'll look forward to seeing that. But before then, of course, race 2 on the way. So best of luck for that, and hopefully we can see you on the podium again.
Cheers, Jack.
Cheers, Kyle. So Kieran Roberts on debut with Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing. You can't really ask much more than that. You worked your way onto the podium and then just bridged that gap between you and the cars behind. Now, we're all battling away, which of course will have aided it, but you got yourself there. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm really pleased with how the race went. To be honest, I wasn't expecting a lot coming into this evening because it's my first sort of championship that I've done like properly. So I was just sort of seeing how it went and just hoping for the best, really. But I'm really pleased with how I've got on. So.
Yeah, well, third place, a good haul of points for the very first time of asking in this championship. Of course, a slightly busier job on the way, 20 minutes on a full reverse grid. How are the sort of confidence levels having to pick your way through the traffic and maybe back up towards those top 5, top 3 places?
I think it's going to be quite challenging, to be honest, obviously fighting from the back of the grid. But hopefully it all stays clean and we can get a...
I think we've lost Kieran Roberts there. Yes, unfortunately we have. Hopefully we get another opportunity to chat to him later on this evening. If not, in future rounds, I am sure, with the pace already showcased by Kieran this evening. So the grid has been formed. Nathan Bell lines up on pole position. Nathan Snaith alongside, followed then by Jordan Taylor in the ideal spot, really, to take a podium place, if not a win, in race number 2. Jake Wardle will line up alongside him. Then it is Dalton Hayward and Olivia Kronowska, Thomas Potter and James Pepper line up 7th and 8th. On row 5 of the grid, we've got Harley Connolly and Luke Sintler, followed then by Harry Dios and Stanley Donaldson. Leo Bell and Kieran Roberts line up in 13th and 14th. And then on the 7th and final row of the grid, we have Kyle Felbus and race 1 winner, Nathan Williams. So the lights will be coming on very shortly. Keep an eye on Nathan Bell, keep an eye on Nathan Snaith, maybe even Jordan Taylor if he can get a good start here, already looking for the lead down in towards turn 1. But the 6 lights go on, and race 2 of the PASR MX-5 Cup is go. Who gets the best start? Again, very even throughout the order. However, a brilliant start from Nathan Williams. You saw him jump out straight away, already looking up to make up places, and he has. He's managed to pick the pocket of Kyle Felbus. He's managed to pick the pocket of Kieran Roberts, but in towards turn 1, Nathan Bell leads them through. Jordan Taylor does indeed manage to pick up 2nd place, maybe even the lead on the exit as Nathan Bell runs wide, almost contact with Nathan Bell and Jordan Taylor, but they do manage to make it work. Jordan Taylor into the lead of the race, a lightning start, capitalised on a small mistake, and already into the lead. Nathan Bell getting caught out with over-rotation on the rear. He heads towards the barrier and hopefully doesn't quite meet it with the assistance of the gravel trap, but Nathan Snaith finds himself in 2nd place, followed then by Jake Wardle. Big contact in the background, and we've got 5, 6, 7 cars off. Kieran Roberts, Kyle Felbus, Thomas Potter, James Pepper, Nathan Williams is involved, so too is Kieran Roberts, so too is Harry Dios. So there's a number of cars around. Even further up the road, we also have Dalton Hayward and Jake Wardle, unfortunately, have come to strife on the exit of McLean's. Nathan Williams still struggling to get that car pointing the right way, I fear, as well. So Jordan Taylor, he's through and away. He's 8/10 clear in the lead of the race, followed then by Nathan Snaith. A bit of a gap back to Harley Connolly of 3.5 seconds. Then it's Olivia Kronowska, 5 seconds back from there. Dalton Hayward in 5th, Leo Bell in 6th. Kyle Felbus has managed to come out of that in 6th place, followed then by Jake Wardle with a bit of contact with Kyle Felbus. Very well held from Felbus with that slight knock on the rear. Whereabouts is Nathan Williams at the very tail end of the order once again? Half a second away from Nathan Bell, who is, of course, recovering from what I'm guessing was quite a substantial incident on the first lap of the race after starting on reverse grid pole position. There is James Pepper. He's showcased brilliant speed in race 1. What can he do about applying it in race 2? Down in towards turn 1, very late on the brakes, dives to the inside. A very decisive move from James Pepper up into 8th place. And Jake Wardle left without too much to do in the way of a response there. Jordan Taylor, 1.5 seconds clear at the front end of affairs. James Pepper, the next target for him will be Kyle Felvers, who's 1.5 seconds just over up the road in 7th place. These two very equally paced in race number 1. So if this does evolve into a battle, definitely one to watch. And for the highlights reel, I'm sure for both of these two. Harry Dios in 12th place. He's got a bit of work to do, but he is on the heels of Kieran Roberts. Just up the road from the pair of those two is this man, Stanley Donaldson. And Jake Wardle isn't really too far away at all, so it's sort of 2-2s there, and a mistake for Nathan Snaith. He drops from 2nd down to 3rd, but with cars approaching, we may see Olivia Kronowska pick up 3rd place in towards the S's. He might just about have enough time in hand to hold the inside through the S's. What that will do is compromise Olivia Kronowska. Can she take the normal line? No. But she's also lost all that momentum and contact behind. Olivia Kronowska in towards the wall. Nathan Snaith, he recovered. Dalton Haywood maybe didn't quite see that slower car on the way out of the S's, meaning that Dalton Haywood picks up 4th place, Leo Bell 5th, Kyle Felvers now in 6th, James Pepper in 7th, Olivia Kronowska, unfortunately, through no fault of her own, is now down in 9th place as Stanley Donaldson manages to get through. Leo Bell does pick the pocket of Kyle Felvers and Dalton Haywood. I think Dalton Haywood with a mistake on the exit. Yet further contact, that's Jake Wardle absolutely hustling Olivia Kronowska through Hollywood, down in towards the Craner Curves. The sort of quartet go. Not too far away is Harry Dios, once again lights ablaze, trying to pick up any sort of places. Desperate to try and get by is Jake Wardle. More contact between himself and another couple of cars. Maybe just getting used to the width of the car. And Harry Dios, unfortunately, is left without too much space on the outside. Jake Wardle, again, just not quite giving the room I think deserved. Olivia Kronowska with a bit of oversteer does manage to collect that moment rather comfortably. More positions lost, however. She's now down in 11th place, unfortunately. But Leo Bell in 3rd place has got absolutely everybody behind him once again, fighting for the final step on the podium. James Pepper side by side with who is that? I think that is Nathan Snaith. Kyle Felvers the meat in the sandwich at the moment. Leo Bell in 3rd place, but doesn't get the best run out of the final corner, meaning that Kyle Felvers will be getting closer and closer as they come towards the line and then eventually arrive at Redgate. We may see a change for 3rd place. I don't think we will this time. And I think Kyle Felvers is going to prove me wrong here. Later on the brakes, down a gear, does manage to pick up 3rd place at the apex. Can Leo Bell carry the momentum around the outside? A big odd moment for Nathan Snaith in the background. Does manage to keep it on the road. So good driving from Nathan Snaith. That almost pops the cork out of the bottle for James Pepper, because he will now get the best seats in the house and be able to watch this battle unfold and maybe make the most of any sort of mistakes. As you're seeing already, he wasn't going to wait around for that one in 5th place. He's trying to make it 4th around the outside as we arrive at Schwantz Curve. The door is slammed in his face by Leo Bell. Once again in towards McLean's. Is he going to catch anybody out this time? Late on the brakes. Brilliant move from James Pepper. He's so good on the brakes and manages to get the car slowed down and the position made. So up into 4th for James Pepper. Kyle Felvers already under attack. So James, that pace he showcased in race 1 is coming back alive in race 2. We may see him up towards the podium. 3rd place finisher in race 1, Kieran Roberts, picks up another place. He gets past Dalton Haywood to make that 7th. Nathan Snaith up the road. He's still keeping tabs with the battle that passed him a few laps ago, so he may see an increase in pace as the race wears on. The recovering Luke Sintler is sat in 10th. He's not far away from the tail end of Dalton Haywood. This battle's still raging on. James Pepper desperately trying to get past Kyle Felvers for a podium place. A bit of a tap on the way in. Will that push Kyle Felvers wide? No, he manages to keep it on the curbs. But James Pepper, I fear a podium place is beckoning for him through Hollywood and then down in towards the Craner Curves once again. 14 minutes of the race remaining. Jordan Taylor's lead has gone up to 5 seconds now. A pair of them meet the apex almost at the same time. James Pepper, all eyes on you, because he's looking to the inside as we arrive at Schwantz Curve. A bit of jumping around there for Kyle Felvers. It will be the outside for McLean's. Can he find the grip on the edge of adhesion? The pair of them make contact on the way in. They make contact on the exit. And then up towards Coppice Corner. James Pepper once again on the outside. Pitches the car in. Almost contact between the pair of them. Brilliant racing between James Pepper and Kyle Felbus. This is the battle for third place. Leo Bell, I'm sure he just wants to close his eyes and hope this all goes away. But James Pepper up into third place for the moment. Kyle Felbus is looking around the outside. They hit the brakes at the same time. James Pepper with the compromised line on their way in. Will that affect his exit? Yes, it will, because now we see Kyle Felbus get closer and closer and closer. Lights ablaze. James Pepper hooks the inside, forces Kyle Felbus to go the long way around. By the time we arrive at Redgate, James Pepper holding the middle of the road, just making the job that much harder for Kyle Felbus. He gave it a go, but it didn't quite work. Loses a bit of momentum on the way out. So James has now got a bit of breathing room that I think he deserves. Harley Connolly doing a sterling job holding on to second place at the moment. A flash of the lights from Kyle Felbus. It seemed fairly clean. I've got a feeling that was just a good battle flash. It wasn't an angry flash from Kyle Felbus. Leo Bell in 5th place. Nathan Snaith still sat there in 6th. Looking back, there is Stanley Donaldson. He's trying to work his way through and past Luke Sintler, who has a bit of a moment of the exit of the old hairpin. 3 wide for a very brief moment. And up the inside, a little look from Dalton Hayward. Decided maybe not this time. But of course, Luke Sintler, having made that mistake, will try and make those positions back as soon as possible. And Dalton Hayward, a bit of a moment on the way in towards Coppice. And I think that car is destined for retirement. And into the pit lane he goes. Not necessarily the way we would like to see it. But Luke Sintler in 9th place now. He is going to be on the attack, trying to get past Stanley Donaldson. Leo Bell sat there in 5th place. Whereabouts is he going to go here? Because Nathan Snaith is 1.3 back. Kyle Felbus is only a second up the road, but will be losing time because as Kyle Felbus and James Pepper battle for the final step on the podium, they might not be able to take their usual lines, with one going defensive, one maybe accounting for that defensive move and looking for a cutback by braking slightly earlier into a corner. All that results in lost time. But whatever happened in towards turn 1, it means that James Pepper is now almost a second clear. So that is exactly what he will want. It's exactly what Kyle Felbus doesn't. Luke Sintler's still all over the tail end of Stanley Donaldson. Through the old hairpin they go, back up the hill. Makes you realise just how much elevation change there is here at Donington Park. And then through Schwann's curve in towards McLean's. Luke Sintler on the inside, later on the brakes. They meet the apex together, but brilliant momentum carried by Stanley Donaldson. Had the confidence to go around the outside and remains in 8th place this time. The lead gap out to 6 seconds now for Jordan Taylor. Harry Dios on the outside of Olivia Kronoska picks up that place. You could see there Olivia Kronoska just dipped over that curb, and it really does camber the car on the way in, which you think would help you carry momentum, but you almost bottom the car out, lose some rear grip, and we've seen how easily it can go wrong through McLean's corner, not only in this race but in the race prior as well. Fastest lap of the race set last time through by James Pepper, a 1 minute 16.802, pardon me. So he is one of the only drivers to get into the 16s. Last time through we saw some good improvements, some good personal improvements from top to bottom of the order, but nothing quite the way of James Pepper, who has now put that full second margin between himself and Kyle Felbus, riding on board with Stanley Donaldson, who now finds himself behind Luke Sintler in towards the old hairpin. And much later on the brakes is Luke Sintler. You could see the car just pull away. And James Pepper with some sort of mistake down into 4th place. So Kyle Felbus does get through. Harley Connolly gets through. What has happened to James Pepper? He was in 3rd place, pardon me, and it jumped around on the timing, and it is in fact exactly how we saw it before. So Jordan Taylor still leading the way by 5.5 seconds now. Harley Connolly in 2nd place with an 8.5 second margin between himself and James Pepper, who still resides in 3rd. Jake Wardle with another off-track moment, unfortunately, so he finds himself down in 14th place and struggling to make up anything ever further. Thomas Potter in 12th place, a busy old second sector of the circuit for him. He tried to get by Harry Dios. He was very late on the brakes. Harry, I think, saw that coming. Nathan Williams, what has happened there? He's lost out to Stanley Donaldson, and I think maybe a bit of a moment heading through the final corner for him, because he is now back down into 10th place, and a 1 minute 23 sort of justifies that. Definitely a slower lap than what we've seen from him before. Over the line we'd go with just under 9 minutes of the race remaining. Jordan Taylor still leading quite comfortably. Last time through, who was the quicker? It was Harley Connolly by around about half a second, but as we heard from Jordan Taylor at the end of race 1, or we didn't hear from Jordan Taylor, pardon me, we heard from Nathan Williams, but he said He just wanted to almost ease off and lap a couple of tenths slower than what he knows he can do. Maybe Jordan Taylor is taking that same approach. There's no need to push the car and make a mistake. If he can lap a couple of tenths slower off than his best and comfortably do so, he will still have plenty of time left at the end of the race to feel comfortable in first. There is Thomas Potter. Through McLean's he will go and is losing time to Harry Dial, so I fear that's all she wrote for this little battle. Back up to Nathan Williams, who's recovering from contact with Stanley Donaldson a few laps ago. We spotted him drop down the order, and he's now slowly starting to encroach within that half a second margin once again. Through the chicane, no such dramas this time. Over the line, the gap is remaining about the same. It is coming down, of course, draft assisted. Nathan Williams responds to his 1 minute 23 last lap with a 1 minute 17, so right back into the competitive lap times. On the exit of Redgate, pulls more time in once again. So Nathan Williams, he's getting closer and closer to 9th place. It's going to be a game of, I think, when and not if for Nathan promoting himself into 9th place. Thomas Potter seems to have closed up on Harry Dios once again, whether that's a mistake from Harry or a particularly quick lap from Thomas. But riding on board with Nathan Williams within 3 tenths of a second now, very shortly within 2 tenths of a second, I am sure. Through McLean's corner they go, massively closing up is Nathan Williams, a little look to the inside, gets the overlap initially. Stuart Donaldson comes over to defend, can't quite edge the gap open, can Nathan Williams. He looks for the outside, finds that understeer which we've spoken to him about, but then ducks straight back into the aerodynamic assistance, closing down the Dunlop straight. He's offered the outside in towards the S. He's absolutely side by side, so late on the brakes is Stuart Donaldson, somehow finds the apex. Will that compromise his exit? Yes, it will. Nathan Williams will start to get closer once again. A very quick lap last time through from Luke Sintler and sets his personal fastest lap of the race. Another driver into the 16s, the 1 minute 16.865 posted. Jordan Taylor sets a personal best sector 1, so he's looking to maybe pick up the pace once again. In response, lapped half a second quicker than Harley Connolly, and the lead gap remains at over 6 seconds with 6 minutes of the race to go. But Nathan Williams, he's desperate for 9th place, but he's just being patient and careful for where he goes to the move. Goes for the move. He had a half look there, trying to force that mistake from Stanley Donaldson, and as easy as that, he just runs onto the grass. That kills his momentum on the ascent through Schwantz Curve, and by the time they arrive at McLean's, Nathan Williams gets another go at the inside. Decides maybe this time he's going to force it a bit more, and position made from Nathan Williams. He needed a bit more commitment. He found it and arrived at the apex first, meaning that on the way out up towards Coppice Corner, he does indeed secure 9th place. Stanley Donaldson, I don't think he will go down without a fight. However, he will look to fight back. Nathan Snaith loses out to Kieran Roberts, who's later on the brakes. He finished 3rd in race 1. Did Kieran, he's back up to 6th, so it's going to be a good haul of points from Kieran Roberts if he can keep going at this rate. Stanley Donaldson, I said he wasn't going to go down without a fight. He immediately fights back, looks to the outside through the S's. However, that compromises his entry, which compromises his exit, and then that gap opens up once again as we come towards the line. 4 tenths separating 9th and 10th. Nathan Williams, having got that position, will now just try and focus on putting a few car lengths between himself and the car behind. We tick past the 5 minute mark, so less than 5 minutes remaining in this race. Nathan Snaith, having lost 1 place a lap ago to Kieran Roberts, already back under pressure, this time from Luke Sintler, who, if you remember, was pointing backwards in the middle of the road, caught up in that substantial pile-up at the start of the race. It's amazing how close everybody still is after that little incident. Through McLean's we go, up towards Coppice once again, and Nathan Snaith, he wants to focus on attacking back at Kieran Roberts, but all of his attentions will be diverted to defending from Luke Sintler, who gets a slightly tighter line through the exit of Coppice Corner onto the Starkey Straight, and then in towards the chicane they will go once again. Will Luke Sintler brave it out on the brakes? Yes, he will. Later on the brakes, picks up the apex, and position made for Luke Sintler. It doesn't compromise his exit either, so Luke Sintler up into 7th place. The next target for him is Kieran Roberts with 4 minutes of the race remaining. It's not necessarily too much to ask either, because Luke Sintler in 7th place last time through, even with that overtake, almost matched Kieran Roberts' lap time. If anything, he was a little bit quicker. Fastest overall sector 3 has just been set by Nathan Williams, so he's really starting to pick up the paces, Nathan. He's got 10 seconds to make up, however, before he catches the car we can see in shot here. That is Nathan Snaith. at the tail end of this little trio. James Pepper, having made that mistake earlier on, is just doing what he can to hold on to third place. Kyle Felvis in fourth. Last time through, he did lap a 10th quicker. However, that's not what he needs. He needs around about 2, 3, maybe even 4 tenths quicker if he wants to get on the podium at race 2. Harley Connolly still sat there in second place. He's getting slightly closer to Jordan Taylor, but it won't be enough with 5.9 seconds the gap between them. 3 minutes of the race remaining. Into the chicane goes Kyle Felbus. We'll see what lap time he does this time through. James Pepper, I fear this has been a slightly slower lap from James. So he will break the beam and set a 1 minute 17.2. Kyle Felvis, a 1 minute 16.9, so 3 tenths quicker that time through from Kyle Felvis. His personal fastest lap of the race as well, so he's desperately trying to get up in towards the top 3. Who was that going off the road? I think that will have been Nathan Bell. Yes, it was. Slightly deep on the brakes and maybe in pure avoidance, responding to those blue flags. Put himself off the road very slightly there. Jake Wardle in the wall, that is on the exit of Schwantz curve, so quite easily done. You flick the car in at a high rate of speed and the rear end tries to overtake the front, and as we've seen from Jake Wardle's perspective, it well and truly can. Harry Dios crosses the line in 11th place and sets what would have been his personal fastest lap of the race, but I fear that was with an off-track excursion. Nathan Bell jumps out the way very comfortably for the cars behind. That is the sparring duo of Kieran Roberts and Luke Sintler. This is for the final spot in the top 6. Bouncing over the curb is Luke Sintler, slightly unsettles the car, but doesn't cost him too much speed. It'd be foolish to go for a move in towards Coppice Corner. Earlier on the brakes, clever driving from Luke Sintler, because now he gets a good exit and the aerodynamic assistance. He will desperately try and get over to the inside, somehow manages to find the room. Kieran Roberts saw it coming, but he can squeeze him up to that white line, but no further. In towards the S's, they're going to be absolutely side by side. Later on the brakes is Luke Sintler. Kieran Roberts looks to try and respond for the cleaner run, and he does get the better exit, so it's going to be nose to tail as they come towards the line. Jordan Taylor, he's already heading down through the Craner curve, so we will get 2 more laps out of this one from Luke Sintler. Down in towards turn 1, and Kieran Roberts can't respond this time, or can he? He now looks up the inside with a brilliant run on the exit. It will be the inside for Hollywood, the outside for the Craner curves, the inside once again for the old hairpin, but I think the position will have been made even before then. Yes, it will. Brilliant driving between the pair of these two. Racing room given. Very, very close between them. The margins are absolutely cutthroat. Luke Sintler on the brakes at the perfect point, and that gives him a good run on the exit of the old hairpin. Back up the hill we go through Schwantz curve. The inside will be gifted towards Luke Sintler by the time we arrive at McLean's. He will look to go for a move on the brakes. Almost makes the move on the way in, but can't quite get it done. And Kieran Roberts, for now, holds on to 6th place. Jordan Taylor coming towards the line to go on to his final lap of the race. He might have a little bit of traffic in the way of Olivia Kronoska. Harley Connolly has dropped away a little bit to 7.5 seconds. Maybe that is him just wanting to get the car home as well. Luke Sintler still sat there in 7th place, but he's really going to have to work with this one, because Kieran Roberts, after a bit of contact, I think there, Luke Sintler maybe slightly later on the brakes, and Kieran Roberts, from at least initially, it looked like the innocent party. Unfortunately, he finds himself dropping down the order, and he will lose out to only Nathan Williams, because I think that is Nathan Bell, father of Leo Bell, of course, who went very well in the Junior Saloon Car Championship. In towards turn 1, Kieran Roberts dives up the inside to work his way through and past the blue flag traffic. But Kieran Roberts, that's not the way we wanted it to go, because it was shaping up to be a brilliant battle to the very end between himself and Luke Sintler. But Jordan Taylor, after not necessarily anything to write home about in race 1, manages to roll the dice and get it absolutely perfect for reverse grid, starting on the 2nd row. He will come through the final corner for the final time of the evening. Olivia Kronoska jumps out of the way, but race 2 of the PASR Mazda MX-5 Cup goes the way of Jordan Taylor with a flash of the lights. In a flurry, he takes the checkered flag and max points in race 2. Harley Connolly, a fairly quiet drive, but a brilliant drive nonetheless to pick up 2nd place. And Jordan Pepper, that's what he wanted in race 1. He gets it in race 2 to get onto the final step of the podium. Kyle Felvis finishes in 4th. Leo Bell, he will round out your top 5 through the final corner now. And Luke Sintler, maybe not the way he would have liked to get it, but crosses the line in 6th place. I'm sure there will be question marks over that one. Nathan Williams, oh, what could have been a brilliant drive nonetheless. Good points scored in race 2, max points scored in race 1. So he will cross the line in 7th. Kieran Roberts recovers to 8th. Stuart Donaldson finishes in 9th, and Nathan Snaith rounds out your top 10. Harry Dios, a fairly rotten start to race 2 means that he crosses the line in 11th. We've already seen Olivia Kronoska, Jake Wardle and Nathan Bell over the line. The final car to take the checkered flag will be Thomas Potter. Through the S's he will go, and the number 10 machine will round out the top 12. So Thomas Potter, good debut in the championship for him. Have we seen him before? No, we haven't. So new to PASR, taking 2 checkered flags. Very well done. That means he will get some good points on the board as well. But race 2 completed, and what a night it has been up until this point. And the best thing is we get to do it all again next week. But for the moment, all eyes on our top 3. So into the commentary box, they will come. We'll go in reverse order this time. James Pepper, welcome to the commentary box. Race 1 didn't quite go your way. A couple of mistakes. I think mistakes sort of just kept creeping in exactly where you didn't want them. But race 2, you turned it around, got yourself on the podium, a good haul of points. How are you feeling?
Yeah, it was a bit disappointing in the first one, but to bring it back in that second was just amazing.
And of course, you've driven the Ginetta before with PASR in the Ginetta Junior Official E Series. I'm sure a fairly similar dynamic to the Mazda MX-5, front-engined, rear-wheel drive, very, very light. Does that experience play into your hands?
Yeah, I mean, the pace-wise it does, but once again, it's getting used to the car, and consistency is obviously key in this, so just keeping the momentum and looking forward.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed. It's a good opening night. Obviously, it's not all gone your way, but I'm sure there's plenty to take away from this evening, and picking up 3rd place and a good haul of points with it. Surely that's going to be a good confidence boost going into the rest of the season.
Yeah, definitely. Just, as I say, got to keep forwards, keep pushing for points, and pick up from people where I can, really.
Great stuff. One final one. Anybody you'd like to say a quick thank you or shout out to whilst you're live?
Yeah, just a massive thank you for Perfect Acceleration for putting it on again, and obviously my sponsors, the Cool Camel, so it's nice to perform.
Great stuff. Good to hear, James, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks' time at Knock Hill. Also in the commentary box joining us is Harley Connolly. Harley, race 2, it seemed fairly lonely for you. You had sort of 3 seconds, then 5 seconds, then 7 seconds, I think, up to Jordan at the line. James was slowly getting close, but you had plenty of breathing room. Was that sort of exactly where you wanted to be? Fairly comfortable, no pressure, and just bring the car home?
Yeah, that was a goal. I mean, I don't know. I got to P2 somehow. Something must have happened behind me. So I won't complain about that. I saw it was Jordan in front of me, so and he was a couple seconds ahead, so I didn't think about fighting it. I just thought, try and bring the car home. I had most of the race left, so I was driving a bit slowly, a bit cautious, so I didn't die. And yeah, it paid off, thankfully.
I mean, I'll leave it down to you to watch the live stream back, and you'll be able to see exactly what happened at the start of race 2. But in a week's time, we go to Knock Hill, north of the border. Of course, a lot of elevation change that happens very quickly. A lot of blind corners. Some of the curbs are quite tall as well. And in cars that are very, very light indeed, I think they weigh just under a ton. I'd imagine it'll be a bit of a handful. How are the nerves? How's sort of the aspirations for that round?
It'll be an interesting race. I can't wait to practice it. It's a fun track, so we'll go and do some practice and see what happens with it. See how the cars like it, and we'll give it a go.
Great stuff. We'll look forward to seeing that all come to place in a week's time. But anybody you'd like to thank or shout out?
Yeah, Jordan Kyle for helping me on the sim, and Paul Rice for everything he does and everyone he eats. So I appreciate it. So yeah, thank you.
Great stuff. Cheers, Harley. We'll see you in a week's time at Knock Hill. Jordan, race 1 very much didn't go your way, but were you sort of rolling the dice and hedging your bets on a good reverse grid position and then seeing what you can do about a race 2 win?
Yeah, 100%. I had a very bad lap 1 in race 1, dropped to last, or at the back anyway. Had a good drive to get up to the top 5, and then I think just due to Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, but pinging, and that's what made me crash again. So I just thought there's no point driving as hard as I did to get back up to the same place when it's the first round. We don't know how the reverse grid's going to be, so I just dropped back, got into the top 3 for the reverse grid, got past the 2 in front of me, and then chaos happened behind. So it was 100% on purpose. I wasn't just being slow.
I'd never accuse you of that, Jordan. We know you've got the pace in one of these. And I want to say as well, what is it that takes you from sort of a midfield car to running at the very sharp end of the order? Is it a driving style? Is it track confidence more than anything? Because of course, Donington Park, it's a circuit sort of very well known. It gets a lot of action year on year, both in real life and on the sim. But is it, obviously we go to Knock Hill, do you think that is going to rely on track knowledge or more the car?
It's going to be the car in this situation. This car's very lively. I'm sure you saw a lot of people spin and little bits of contact here and there. So we'll see how it is, because you've got to launch all the curbs at Knock Hill to be fast. So we'll see how the car, as Harley said, see how the car likes it. If it likes taking the curbs, we'll be right. But if it was how it was around here, especially through the chicane, we're gonna have our hands full for sure.
Yeah, we're looking forward to seeing. I know at Knock Hill, usually the more time you spend off the ground, usually that is quicker. But we'll get to see all of that come to play in a week's time. But congratulations on a win in race 2 here, a good haul of points, and hopefully you can carry that momentum into Knock Hill. But before we let you go, anybody you'd like to shout out?
Well, Harley for his his debut in HFT. I don't know if anyone knew that he joined, but Harley is now a HFT member. And to get a 1-2 on our first night is pretty good. If Kyle could have pipped James, that would have been a 1-2-3, which would have been mega. But he's got pace, so there's more to come from the 3 of us, especially.
Great stuff. We'll look forward to seeing that all happen, and we'll see you in a week's time in Scotland. So the first round of the championship completed, and we couldn't have really asked for much more out of Donington Park. There was action from start to finish of race 1 and race 2 as well. Please make sure, if you enjoyed this evening, obviously make that known with a like or a subscribe to Perfect Acceleration Sim Racing, or both. Please do feel free. In a week's time, do join us again, same time, same place. The 15th of February, we go above the border to Knock Hill. After that, it's Croft, Castlecombe, Moulton Park, Brands Hatch. We go to some of the best British motor racing circuits with some of the best young talents as well. So all of that will be revealed over the next 5 weeks. So from myself, Jack Werrell in the commentary box, Tom O'Farrell and Mick Sutton here at PASR and 2F Media Productions, a massive thank you for watching round number 1, races 1 and 2 of the PASR MX-5 Cup. Join us next week as we get it